Oh, it's a ton. As Mayor Pete Buttigieg appears poised to make his run official, he's facing a bit of controversy. In 2015, he said, quote, there is no contradiction between respecting the risks that police officers take every day in order to protect this community and recognizing the need to overcome the biases implicit in a justice system that treats people from different backgrounds differently, even when they are accused of the same offenses. We need to take both those things seriously for the simple and profound reason that all lives matter. Today, he responded to criticism about using the phrase all lives matter.
At that time, I was talking about a lot of issues around racial reconciliation in our community. What I did not understand at that time was that that phrase, just early into mid, especially 2015, was coming to be viewed as a sort of counter slogan to Black Lives Matter. And so this statement that seems very anodyne and something that's kind of nobody could be against actually wound up being used to devalue what the Black Lives Matter movement was telling us, which is what we needed to hear, because unfortunately it was not obvious to everybody that Black lives were being valued the same. And so that is the contribution of Black Lives Matter, and it's a reason why, since learning about how that phrase was being used to push back on that activism, I've stopped using it in that context.
All right, Caitlin, so is this the first real rough patch the mayor has had to navigate so far?
Well, I was just with him in that scrum this morning, and this came after he gave a speech to that conference, a largely African-American audience, saying that Black Lives Matter. He made that point very specifically in the context, too, of criminal justice reform and his own record in South Bend. Now, remember, just 4 weeks ago, Pete Buttigieg was really an unknown, a long-shot candidate. He, with a difficult-to-pronounce last name that we're all starting to get used to now. He's raised $7 million in the first quarter. He's done a lot of viral interviews and a televised town hall. He's gained a lot of momentum, and he's expected to formally launch his presidency this month in South Bend. So this is now what it means to go from a long shot candidate to a really serious contender. Your record is going to be scrutinized. Every statement you've made in the past is going to be scrutinized, as we know. So this is a sign of him being taken seriously as a candidate. And perhaps that, even though he is young, that past statements, past comments will be looked at, and speaks to kind of how this all fits into the Democratic primary, which is heavily weighing these issues.
All right, the final question goes to Bob. There are those who have called this primary the I'm sorry primary because some of the candidates have apologized or clarified previous positions. Do you think voters see it that way, or is it just a big fuss?
Well, I think it's a big deal just because, I mean, the Democratic Party has moved left. They're highlighting, most Democrats are highlighting issues like Medicare for All and the Green New Deal and reparations for slavery. The reparations on Capitol Hill, actually, that bill has momentum now. So I think, the candidates here, they have to appeal to the base. And I think you can also see a lot of focus on Joe Biden's vote for the Iraq War. So I do think that you've got to clean up this mess. And certainly Buttigieg is, as Caitlin said, we didn't know how to say his name a month ago, so he's having a good run. But that answer that he just gave, that was a long answer. When you're explaining, you're losing in politics. But he is now under scrutiny, but his campaign is really soaring. I mean, you look at someone like Elizabeth Warren, she struggled, and Buttigieg is on the rise.
All right, you got to be ready for the bumps and bruises. All right, Bob Cusack and Caitlin Q. Burns, thank you both for joining.